why we do the and that's why this group needs to continue because we need to be intentional about this because if you say parenting, dads will say, that doesn't really mean me. I'm not really part of that descriptor. So, so we have to figure out how we define whole families in a way that is inclusive of all of the parents. And so we have a chance to listen to and learn from four amazing parents today who are parenting behind bars. But we're going to start off with just a little brief intro from our wonderful staff from the Department of Corrections. Tara McElravy and Taryn Beeman are with us, and I think Tara's going to do most of that overview. So if you want to take a moment, Taryn and Tara, to introduce yourselves, and then Tara, if you could just give us a bit of an overview of your program and a couple of the other programs that the Department of Corrections does to support families, and then we'll get into our panel. And thanks for the introductions, everybody. Please keep them coming.
Thanks, Anne. Taryn, did you want to go first?
No, you're good. You can go ahead. Thank you, though.
Oh, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Tara McElravy, a corrections specialist with the Washington Department of Corrections, out of the Strength and Families Unit for the Reentry Division. I've been in this role for about 8 years, and it's been just a really great experience to pioneer these efforts in DOC to really focus on supporting intensely the incarcerated fathers and the incarcerated parents. So it's an area of our work that is greatly needed. And I have with me today 3 dads. We're out at Stafford Creek Correction Center in Aberdeen, heading towards Westport for those that know the area. And so I've got Dion and Mikey and Bryant. And they're all part of the Strength and Families program, all parenting from prison, and they're going to give you some really great perspectives, examples and stories about how they're making that successful and still maintaining very close family bonds. So the Strength and Families program, we are a 2-phase program. We work with incarcerated dads on the west side of the state during incarceration. They take a couple parenting classes from us. They're assigned a case manager that helps advocate and maneuver barriers to assist them in transitioning back to the community, as well as improving their relationships and their bonds and their contact with their family and their children. Then when our participants release to the community, the case manager stays with them and then continues to assist them in the community. Department of Corrections, we've got several, we recognize the importance of maintaining family bonds and giving opportunities for meaningful contact as much as possible. So just an overview of some of the programs. Some of our dads might actually talk about them, participating in some of them. We've got a pretty robust visitation program. Several of our visit rooms have partnered with the Hands-On Children's Museum to get a really wonderful overhaul. Stafford Creek is one of them, where it's a really family-friendly environment. It's important to make those moments very comfortable, especially for the kids, as natural as possible. We also have, we've got, each facility has multiple family-friendly events every year. I think we do about 6. I think it's 6 or 7 a year. Different types of family-focused events where individuals can sign up with their families to do activities and have different experiences. We also have the CPA and the FOSA, which is the Parenting Sentencing Alternative Act, which is part of the DOC element is CPA, which is the Community Parenting Alternative Act, which individuals that qualify for that program can get out 12 to 18 months early to the community, and they release to their families, and they're provided case management, intensive case management that is family focused as well. And so that's a really great opportunity for individuals in the Department of Corrections to get back to their families and have that really essential support. So that is overview in a nutshell. I'm sure that Taryn, if I forgot anything major, we do support parent-teacher conferences and getting our incarcerated parents involved in the education of their children, so they have a voice in those forums. We have some facilities. We do Girl Scouts behind bars. Just a lot of neat things available for our families to get involved with. And if you're interested, you can find out more on the Department of Corrections website about those things. So Terry, did you want to take it?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Taryn Beeman. I'm a parent navigator with the Department of Corrections, and I've been working here with Incarcerated dads at Airway Heights for a few years now. And I have a dad here, Mr. Villa, who is also graduating Parenting Inside Out today. So, yeah.
Congratulations. So we have a two-part series for you. This month, you will be meeting and learning from these wonderful fathers who have graciously offered to share their stories with you while parenting inside. And then next month, part two, you will get to hear the flip side of the story of those that are navigating the really turbulent waters of reentry. And so it really is wonderful and helpful to do both so that you get a sense of what it's like for parents when they enter back into the community. So Tara, I'm going to hand it to you and have you kind of do the questions from there because it makes more sense. I think it's more natural for them and they know you better than they know me to have you sort of lead that. And then if people have questions as we go along, go ahead and put them in the chat and I'll just try and jump back in and ask those questions as we go. But I'm going to turn it over to you now, Tara, to get us started.
Sounds good. Thank you. Well, first, I'd like our dads to introduce themselves. And we can start with Marco. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your kids. How old are they? What's your relationship like with your kids now that you're incarcerated? So go ahead, Marco.
Hello, my name is Marco Villa. I got 4 kids that live with me. I got 3 older ones that don't. My 3 that live with me, I got 4. I got my 5-year-old Haley, my 4-year-old who's Renesmee, my 2-year-old that's Isabella, and my 1-year-old is Raiden. I ain't met my 1-year-old yet, and I'm looking forward to. That's my boy. They lived with me before I got incarcerated. I got incarcerated for violating a restraining order. Me and my co-parent was having issues, and she kind of relapsed, and I kind of went to recover her, and I got trouble for violating the restraining order. And now that I'm incarcerated, I feel like my kids are kind of confused. They're wondering where I'm at. They're wondering where I've been. At first, I told them that I was working, and now that we're doing the parenting in and out, it's just not to lie to your kids, to be honest with them, be upfront. So I told them I was incarcerated. I told them I was in a big boys timeout. They kind of understood it, and they're just asking for me to come home. You know, they want me home. Their placement with their grandma at the moment, waiting for my release. You know,
So is the grandma your mom?
it's my wife's step grandma.
So is your family at all involved with the kiddos?
We just moved here from California in 2022, so I have no family in Washington whatsoever. So it's her grandma, her side of the family. We moved here for a change, and it didn't work out too well for her. You know, I was all up for it. You know what I mean? I want different. I want my girls to be 4-H. I want them to have different than gangs, the violence, the drugs that we lived around in California. And I know people say that there's the same thing up here in Washington, but I didn't know the drug addicts here in Washington. I didn't know the gang was here in Washington. And that's the way I want to keep it. And it seems like why when I got incarcerated, she fell into a hardship and reached out to people, and her normal was drug addicts. You know what I mean? So she surrounded herself with people that were using drugs, and the CPS stepped in and did a house placement. I wish I had family here, to help out, but I don't.
Thanks. Thanks, Tara.
Leon Adams. I have 4 children in total, 1 adult, 2 teens, and 1 preteen. I was fortunate and blessed enough to had gotten custody of my youngest 2. I was a custodial parent. And I had them since they were infants. And
So if you have how's your relationship with them now?
my relationship with them is good. It's not what it used to be. I kind of feel like I'm in a supervised visitation role. It actually seems like the roles have been reversed because I was the one that was always there every day and the mother wasn't. And now they're in her care and I'm in here. And so it's kind of strained. My kids, it's difficult to have conversations with them because mom is always like present because there's really no way for us to communicate outside of mom's presence. So I think there's a lot of things that they might want to share or let me know that they're unable to because we don't have many opportunities to interact with our children outside of the co-parent, which is why I'm so thankful for the newly implemented program of Girl Scouts. I wish it was Kid Scouts so that boys and girls would both be included, but we have Girl Scouts and they bring the children. They go and pick them up and bring them here to visit us. Outside of the co-parent, it's just us and the children. And I appreciate that because it gives me a chance to be one-on-one with my kids. And the family-friendly events, I appreciate those as well because it allows us to interact and have more of a normality than just sitting across the table from each other.
So folks might be surprised to hear that it's really not unusual. We've seen it in several cases, although it's not the norm, but it's not unusual for when fathers release from prison that they are the sole custody of the children. And so if you can imagine the strain and the stress of getting out of prison, getting resettled, and then also being the primary caregiver for your children, that is a lot to handle on your shoulders. So that's pretty admirable, Dion.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, I'm Mickey Day. Between me and my wife, we have a combined family of 8 children. We have one that's underage and he's 10. I had a real good relationship with him when I was out there. He's very active. He's a very active little boy, and he's got a super imagination. And we had a real good relationship. I mean, I take him fishing, we go to the river swimming, and do other things. Now he's kind of into video games a lot, so I kind of relate to him with the video games and stuff. But
And do you get to visit with him regularly?
I talk to him on the phone on almost pretty much daily. My wife doesn't have like her car is kind of iffy. She just got it and she wanted to drive it around and for a little bit to kind of see how it was, and then she's gonna try to make it up here. And then another thing is she was under the impression that because I'm not the biological father of him, but she was under the impression that she had needed the biological father's permission to bring him to see me. And so she had never had put him on my visiting list. But now that she found that out, she's got to go through the hoops to get him put on the visiting list with the notary public and stuff like that for the birth certificate. but I talk to him daily.
How about you, Brian?
Oh, hi, my name's Brian Morgan. I have a 17-year-old daughter. I've been parenting her from in here. Our relationship kind of got started why I've been locked up because she was only 1 year old when I first got incarcerated. Um, she's very unique. She's outspoken. She's my child. So that in itself makes her special. We have visits. We have had visits. We do talk on the phone on an almost consistent basis. I think that's pretty much.
So you have a unique situation where you are at the tail end of a really long sentence.
Yes, yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And you came to prison when your daughter was very, very young,
Right.
but you still maintain contact and in a really close relationship over those years. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when I first got incarcerated, they gave me 350 months. She was 1 year old, so her to be able to comprehend, she couldn't. But me and her mom, we don't we don't have the greatest relationship, but I made it my point to still try to be an active father, active participant in my daughter's life, just based on the fact that I've went through it. I've been solely raised by just one parent, which would be my mother. So I ran into a lot of obstacles. So obstacles that I run into is I'm having to come behind. I'm having to become behind her mom, her grandma. I'm having to come behind them guys and then parent or unparent some of the things that they may have taught her that is not conducive to the path that she should be going down. So I've ran into those, but um, it's my job as a parent. It's my job as a parent to tackle and deal with every situation. It has been challenging. Her mom has given up her parental rights. So her grandma has custody of her. They asked me, did I want to give up mine? Then I solely said no. I said no because it's already, she's dealing with enough as far as me not being absent. So that's one a part of being abandoned or feeling abandoned. And then for me to give up my rights is just simply saying that I don't like her or I don't want her. So I've made a conscious decision to make sure that she knows that I love her despite my current situation and where I'm at, that I do want her. She's mine. I'm going to do everything I can. So that's been a situation for me, and I've been trying to tackle it the best way I can. And I love the support that I have been getting from DHHS, from even the people here. I have been getting a whole lot of support. So I'm just thankful for that. And like Mac was said, I'm at the end of my sentence. I will be coming out shortly. So I think for the most part, I understand that while that's my child, I've been absent. So when a parent is absent from a child life, you have to really get to know what they've been through because we haven't been there. And so that's something that I know is going to be challenging. Just understanding that for a child to not have a parent that they've been winging it. They've been kind of knowing it or doing it the way that they think they are. In some aspects, I look at her and I say she's very independent. And then there's other aspects where I look and I say, well, this is my child. She's 17, but this is still my baby girl because she still has the immatureness, but then she has the independent of dad, I had to figure it out on my own while you was gone. So that's something that I'm tackling. That's something that I'm dealing with, but I'm embracing myself and I'm welcoming all challenges as coming home to what I would say to be a newly father because I haven't been there. So I welcome it.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's going to be quite an emotional journey, isn't it? Because all of a
Yes, it
sudden
is.
you're going to be able to hug her and see her in person. Tara, can I just jump in with a quick question about DOC's support in terms of establishing parentage? There's been a question in the chat because Marco brought up the issue of a baby born after he was incarcerated. And in that case, there's a marriage, and so there wasn't a need to establish parentage. But how does SIF support father, or how does DOC, I should say, because SIF is not everywhere for every dad, sadly. We wish you were. We wish you were there for every parent. But what does DOC do to support that?
That's a really unique situation that some parents have to deal with, dads, and we do see it where a dad will come to prison and later finds out that he has a child or something in that respect. So it really takes specialized staff that really know how to understand the system in that respect, and what are the processes to establish parentage. Our case managers are familiar with that area. And so what the different options are, if the mother wants to claim and declare who the father is, then the mother and the prospective father can both sign the forms and actually make that official if they both agree. Unfortunately, Department of Corrections, there's no way for them to get DNA tests. And anybody can correct me if I'm wrong in the audience, please, unless there's a court order. And so if there's a court order, then there has to be some family court action attached to that. Mainly if there's a child support, they're trying to establish responsibility for child support, but that's really rare. And so unfortunately, if the mother is not willing to declare the father, that is the easiest way. But usually the dads have to wait until they get out of prison to pursue it civilly.
So I noticed Missy has a comment, but Bridget, you've been weighing in the chat from a child support perspective because you are in the parentage establishment, part of that division of GSHS. Anything you can add to that in terms of if mom is not supportive?
Generally, if mom isn't voluntarily participating in the AOP process, so the acknowledgement of parentage is the forms that are used to add the dad to the birth certificate, or the second parent. If she doesn't want to participate, then that wouldn't be an option because that is a voluntary process. Both parents participate voluntarily. It's not something that either parent can be forced to do. So generally, if mom doesn't want to sign the acknowledgement, what we would suggest in most cases is that the other parent apply for a case with Division of Child Support, and we can potentially assist them through the courts with the prosecuting attorney's office. And either parent can apply. So a father who is incarcerated can still apply for services through DCS. They're not precluded from applying with DCS.
And I noticed Sarah, one of our prosecuting attorneys, just had your hand up for a minute and then you disappeared. Did you have something to add to that?
No, that's she said exactly what I was thinking. They
Oh,
can
okay.
request through the Division of Child Support, and we will get the court order to do the DNA testing in prison. The problem with the other party not participating can still come up, but we'll do our best to establish parentage.
And Missy, you had a thought to add?
Oh, yeah. Exactly what everyone just said. Yeah,
Okay,
there's so
okay.
certain ways, whether if the mom agrees, the acknowledgement of parentage is our easiest pathway forward, but otherwise we do get DNA tests sent in from the courts sometimes, but the dads cannot just request it on their own except via the child support option of them reaching out to child support and trying to open a claim. Which, then there's that thoughtful dialogue behind the scenes of, you're going to have to pay child support potentially if you're the non-custodial parent. So, there's just like that history of sometimes parents who end up in the system or get overwhelmed by not being the custodial parent with their child support option. They'll kind of go under the radar and work under the table, but we encourage them to use that option. If you really, really, really want to, and mom is not going to acknowledge this, initiate it with child support.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've had it come in also via an open dependency coming where the child we didn't know who the father was. I'm sure we have court orders coming in for those DNA tests as well.
Yeah, people mention Child Protective Services too. So clearly these are obstacles, which is where we're headed here, Tara. So I'm going to turn it back over to you in terms of starting the conversation about obstacles and how folks have dealt with those. is your mic is turned on. Marco, do you want to? We can't hear you, Tarek. Maybe get closer to the mic.
Get closer to the mic.
There we go. There we go.
Okay.
Marco, lean in.
This is for you first. What kind of obstacles have you encountered parenting from prison, and have you been able to overcome some of those obstacles?
My main obstacle is not being there for my kids. I was always there. I mean, I'm a father. I feel like if my kids fall, I should be there to pick them up and protect them. You know, I mean, I'm the protector of the family. We had a wonderful life before. I believe my wife went through postpartum depression, having kid right after kid, and it created an issue in our relationship. And I don't believe that by the county or incarcerate me was the solution to our problem. I believe she was going through postpartum depression. Her hormones were messed up. They should have gave us some kind of counseling and stuff instead of sending me to prison. She met somebody that was a drug user. She didn't have no friends here, so she started using. And now it seems like I don't know if she's lost. I really haven't had that much contact with her, but I mean she keeps on lying to me too. But my kids are the ones that are confused. You know, they don't know what's going on, and I was always there for them. You know what I mean? And now I feel like I can't be. You know, and I talk to them every day over the phone, but it's not the same thing as seeing them in person. How my wife was my victim in my case. The restraining order is then expired. It expired 4 days before they sent me to prison. So we're eligible to have contact. But because she was my victim in my case, she wasn't approved for the visiting. So I ain't been able to have video visits or actual visits with my kids. And I know that the court ordered them recently because my DCYS case barely opened up. So the problems will escalate after my incarceration. They promised to give me visitations, but I'm 9.5 hours away from my house. You know what I mean? I don't even know where I'm at right now in this prison that I'm at. I'm trying to get transferred over to the west side of the mountain, but I'm far away. I can't be there for my kids. It'd be impossible for grandma to load up the kids and bring them over here to see me. You know, I know DCYF said that they were willing to help and with transportation and anything else, and I'm grateful for that. And I mean, I'm hoping that does happen. There's other individuals that are here that are also that been here longer and are also waiting for that to happen. It ain't happened yet. So I hope I'm not one of the ones sitting here waiting to see my kids, because I believe that contact is a necessity.
What is the DOC policy about transferring parents to be closer to their children, particularly because Marco was the primary parent when before he went to California to try and get them back from mom. So is that possible? I mean, Taryn, is that something that you were working on with him?
They I mean, they can talk to their counselors and make requests for that.
And how likely is it?
It really just depends on the person and their how they're screened and what their programming needs are, but it's definitely not as it's not as big as a priority as I think it should be. But you know.
They approved. My counselor approved me to be able to get transfer. I'm trying to get to Cedar Creek right now. But he told me that once the approval is put into play, that they can send me either to Walla Walla, Coyote Ridge, any camp that's available. And my problem is I'm trying to get closer to my kids, not farther away. You know what I mean? I'm already farther as it is. It's not really a priority to them where they send me. I mean, I can ask to be moved, and if you're infraction free for I think 6 months, then you're eligible to be able to move. And I've been infraction free for a year.
And this was a while ago. This was in like 2007, 2008. But I wrote the classification unit at the Department of Corrections and told them that I wanted to be closer. Back then, they had a thing called a hardship transfer, And you can actually probably write the classification unit and explain your situation, and you can probably be able to get them to give you a transfer to this side of the mountains.
They don't do hardships no more.
Yeah,
my mom died on the 17th, and I was trying to get a hardship to go and be able to be there for her before she passed away, and they denied me.
yeah, they don't normally do hardship transfers anymore, but that's a place that you can actually write them a letter and explain your situation. And I mean, it might make a difference. I mean,
Yeah. My best bet was to try to get enrolled in the Strengthening Family program, because the Strengthening Family is only offered on the west side of the
Yeah.
mountain.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at right now. So I'm hoping I got 4 months left. I get out in 4 months, so I'm hoping, but I still want to. Yeah.
Right. And so one of the obstacles is that this amazing program, Strengthen Families, is in a very limited part of the population. So for those of us who are advocates for families and care about, how we support and both during incarceration and during reentry, justice involved dads, this is a really big issue around getting parenting happening as soon as possible when they get incarcerated. All right, Tara, lean in.
When we participated in the fatherhood study with you back in 2023, 2024, we took a look at our parent programs where that included an intense case management component to really is what's needed to help these parents maneuver these really difficult obstacles, especially if you're bridging a gap between incarceration, corrections, and other agencies and systems. And what we found is that with the current staffing and the size of the programs that we have, that where they have that element of intensive case management, we were only be able to reach about 2.5% of the father population in DOC. So definitely the need is there. We have roughly 50% of male incarcerated individuals are fathers, and we know that they touch that those numbers touch thousands and thousands of children, and co-parents come along with those numbers. So it is definitely a need to support incarcerated parents for sure, because the ripple effect of who else they are now improving the lives of is tremendous. So I'll go to you, Dion. What kind of obstacles have you encountered as you try to parent from prison, and have you been able to overcome any of those obstacles?
Yes. Some of the biggest obstacles I experienced is due to my vulnerability, because I had such a strong and great relationship with my children prior to coming to prison, and I don't want to lose that. So it's hard for me to, I was everything to my kids and they're everything to me. And by that, I mean, like, I was the disciplinarian, right? And it's hard to have your kids listen and do right by you in here, because you're not there to follow up with them. And if you're dealing with a co-parent who is more of a putty co-parent than a backbone, thank you, Strength and Family. Then it's like you're on two separate pages in a sense, because here you are, wanting them to do this, and they were accustomed and used to doing that when I was there. But they have a lot of resentment for their mom, and they don't respect her as I can't say should, because they're entitled to their feelings, but they should have more respect, but they resent her for not having been there for the most part of their life. So I experienced challenges. My 13-year-old Erin, she's currently involved with the courts. She's on home detention. She's living with the grandparents, her mom's grandparents, and they're actually keeping her on there until I get out, which is hopefully next month. But before, I used to be enough. My kids never got in trouble. They had good attendance and good grades. You know, I rewarded positive behavior. We've been on trips. They have, you know, big kid toys, go-karts, dirt bikes, all that stuff. But now that I'm in here, it kind of, and she's involved with the courts, it's like the courts want to be more of the parent. And my daughter, she never needed anybody other than me and herself to be good. And now it's like the courts are like, do this or you can receive these consequences. And she feels like she needs to abide by the courts as opposed to being the person who she was and knowing that she can do good by herself, you know, because that's what she used to do. You know, she's 13 now, and all of a sudden, you know, but I know that when I get out that all this stuff will be resolved and things will go back to the way they used to be.
You bet. I love that confidence. And 13, man, is a tough time to not have multiple parents helping you stay inside the guardrails, right? And
Yes,
to really not have either is rough.
it is.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Mickey, what obstacles have you faced trying to parent in prison?
Some of the obstacles is the hard part of not being there for them, the emotional side of it, because like, you know, we in the strength families, we talk about love languages. Like my son's love language would be he likes the touching and the words of affirmation and stuff like that. I mean, I can do the words of affirmation, but I can't be there physically for his emotional stuff like that. And like uh there was for instance, there was kids picking on him in school because my crime was in the newspaper and stuff like that, and parents didn't want their kids playing with my son because of what I was in prison for and stuff like that. Kids were picking on him and stuff, and so, well, they tell that I'm a murderer and stuff like that, and it was real hard on him, and he didn't understand why these kids were judging him for what I did, and why didn't understand why the parents. And so it was hard for me to explain to a 7-year-old and 8-year-old what their reasons behind that is for and stuff. So my biggest obstacle was being there emotionally for him and trying to comfort him and just be there for his emotional support and stuff like that. And that's one of my biggest obstacles. So
Thank you, Mickey.
yeah.
How about you, Brian?
The biggest obstacles that I'm dealing with is I can't not necessarily try to undo, but try to give understanding to my daughter about my past because friends and family members have told her so much. So my biggest obstacle is trying to get her to understand that the way I was living a gang member life prior to coming in here, that it's not cool. So that's my biggest hurdle that I'm having to deal with, is trying to let her know that the way that I was living, the things that I did, that they wasn't cool, that it's not cool. It should never be glamorized. So the biggest thing is coming behind and trying to change someone's perspective about you when all their life they've been told certain things about you. So that's what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with having to come behind grown adults, and I'm having to clarify to my daughter what exactly a productive life looks like, from a man and a woman, but more so from her father's perspective of the things that I did in my past and trying to move forward. So that's one of the biggest things, that my biggest challenge is trying to undo my past.
Thank you,
Carol,
Brian.
there's been a really cool question in the chat right now that just fits right in terms of you guys have all talked about things you've learned in SIF. What has really changed since you got into the program? If you could just each reflect on, what's one thing that's really changed for you or that you've learned from this. I mean, you've learned a ton. Clearly, you've grown and benefited from these amazing conversations that you get to have. But what's something special that stands out for you from SIF about your kids and your relationship with your kids?
Being, being able, being able to meet them right where they're at emotionally and mentally. That's one of the biggest things that I've learned and I've picked up from this class, how to be able to be there mentally and emotionally and being able to read them and respond to them. Love languages, the things that they need that I might not be able to see because I'm incarcerated. So that's the biggest thing, knowing how to respond to their emotions and validate them as my child, but then as an individual, as a person, letting them know that their feelings do matter and that they're being heard. Because when you do that, it gives the child a chance to really open up to you and to bond with you, and not so much look at you and resent that you haven't been there for them. So that's what I've learned.
Um, the strength of families class taught me a lot. And it's helped me strengthen my relationship with my kid along with my spouse. And the personality, we do the personality test and the love languages and stuff like that. It's helped me communicate better with my child, and I think it's made me a stronger person in my communication. Instead of being passive, I'm more of an assertive and with those things. But it's just, I learned so much with that class. It's brain development and age appropriate behaviors and uh you know uh their development and their personality development, when they come independent, and then when they're wanting to make their own decisions and they're being stubborn, and so it's helped a lot. I'll just say that.
I always thought of myself as a great parent. I felt like I was doing a really good job. But being incarcerated, you kind of start to question, did I do the right thing, being that I'm in here? And as an individual, strengthened families really help to validate my feeling for myself and my parenting skills. In addition, the communication that learning how to read my child, understand my child, and communicate with my child, as well as how to interact and deal with a co-parent. I had never had to do that before. I was just me. And it was challenging, but it was a lot easier than dealing with a co-parent who's dealing with things herself. I know that I have kids in crisis. My kids have been traumatized. And I know that with that comes trauma responses. And so I have to learn how to address issues. And I try to get the message out of the mess. And I try to convey the message and not the mess. I'm thankful for strengthened families, because without them, I wouldn't have known that I was doing a good job, even though I felt it. Like I said, they validated my feelings, and I'm thankful for them for that.
So stinking proud of these dads.
No doubt. You guys are amazing. I am humbled listening to you. Marco, something that you've gained from the parenting that you've gotten inside. What would
We
you
did
add?
in and out, and I've learned a lot. I mean, I got 3 girls almost close to the same age, and I was always the sole provider. I mean, I went to work, I come home, I went to work and come home. But I now I know that the different characters that my kids could have, and I would have never known that if I would not have took the class. now I know that these are different incentives, that they want different things, that they disciplinary had to judge my kids differently. I would always regulate them and play them out from each other. I mean, oh, you need to do this like your sister does this. But I learned in my parenting class that I needed to single them out separately. You know, I mean, not give them their own identity. That way, they're their own person. And I would have never learned that. You know, I was raised by my father and not my mother's, and my dad was never loving to me. I mean, and I try to be loving as I can to my kids, but I understood that loving too much can also damage our kids in different ways. Now I got to be stern, and I don't know how my relationship is gonna when I do get released with my kids. I don't know if I'm gonna be a single parent or not, but I got to learn how to be there for all four of them in different ways, and I've
Yeah.
learned a lot of that in this class.
Yeah, I so appreciate the wisdom and the caring and the commitment of the Strengthen Families team. It is an incredible group of individuals, and it really shows in the connection that you make with these dads and the stick-to-itiveness in working with them through the reentry side. And the parenting skills are super clear. One of the things that you have each brought up, sort of in different ways, of course, is your co-parenting relationships. Can you talk a little bit about that? What have been some of the struggles around your co-parenting relationships or the strengths? I don't want to assume one way or the other. We've got some time, and this is such a critical area for folks that are incarcerated. I've had the honor of visiting classes and hearing dads talk about a lot of gatekeeping and a lot of struggle. And so, Marco, I wonder, because your situation is really directly related to your co-parenting relationship. You were worried about your kids. She was using and you went to go get them, and that's what got you inside. Can you
Yeah.
talk about how are you navigating that co-parenting relationship? What have you learned about how to navigate that co-parenting relationship?
Um, it's been hard. I mean, like I said, we went from having the great. We bought our house. I was working, and she was cooking meals when I got home from work. To right after she had our last kid, she got real depressed, and what it had to do with communication between us two, and her reaching out to friends that weren't very good at positive role models for her. No, I think if she would have had some better positive role models, this probably would have never happened. But our parenting skills, I mean, right now, I mean, she's not even showing up for the visitations with the kids. I don't know what's. I wish I knew what was going on with her. I wish I could be there for her. You know what I mean? But I'm incarcerated. I believe, like I said, I believe she's going through postpartum depression, but nobody else wants to believe it. And I've read about it here, and it's a real thing. You know what I mean? Women do go through that. We've had kids back to back. You know what I mean? And I don't think she got over her hormones from the first one. And my kids are they're seeing it too. You know what I mean? Being with grandma having all four kids, it's hard on her also. You know what I mean? So me trying to co-parent with grandma, and I, like my oldest the other day, she wouldn't talk to me, and like for a week she didn't talk to me. And finally, I got, Mom, are you mad at me or what's going on? And her first words were, "Well, you're sneaky." And I was like, "Well, whoa, what?" And it kind of made me think, like, well, where did you come up with that word? I mean, what do you mean I'm sneaky? Well, you're mean to me. And I said, well, how am I mean to you, Mama? And I explained to her everything that I've done. She's like, yeah, I know. I said, who's saying that I'm mean to you? You know, she's like, well, people. You know, and it kind of like she's listening that to me that she's listening to grown up conversations. You know, she's only 5, and I don't know if they're talking bad about us or because that's her family's parents. I don't know what's going on with them, and I mean, I wish that my kids are placed with the best place they should be right now. Uh, I'm hoping that I'm hoping that my sister snaps out of it or whatever she's doing gets help or something that way we could become a family again. If not, I mean, I'm gonna have to put my work roadblock right there and be like, you know what? If that's the way you're gonna act, then my kids are more important than anything else. my kids are to me, my kids are the most important. And I promised my mom before she died that I was gonna do whatever I could to give my kids a better life. And that's what I'm gonna do. You know?
Yeah. Anybody else want to comment on your co-parenting relationship? You don't have to. It's just come up in the chat and you each have brought it up.
In my situation, I actually feel like I have a fifth child. Because I'm dealing with somebody who has a substance use disorder and a couple of mental health issues as well. And like one of the biggest challenges is getting my kids to understand that mommy's not a bad person. She's just in a bad place. And I have to, I don't badmouth mom to my children. I try to be patient with her, understanding of her. But I don't know if what I'm doing is like, in dealing with her is always right. Am I being too nice so where I feel like I'm being played, or in trying to give her some tough love, am I being too mean and driving her further into her addiction? So it's very touchy situation in that way. But I try to work with her because to me, that's always going to be her place, is my children's mother. In the 13 years that I've had my kids, they've never seen another woman spend the night at our house. And I say that because I noticed that as girls, they gravitated towards women. A friend who might braid their hair, they want to spend additional time with her because they miss having that mother figure. And I always reserve that for my co-parent because that's always going to be her position. And I don't feel I would ever let another woman into my daughter's lives in that way, unless mom just goes to, disappears or something. Then I believe my kids deserve to have that and to provide them with certain experiences and knowledges that as a man, I'm incapable of giving them. And yes, that's what I deal with when dealing with a co-parent.
So Mickey, you're with your wife.
Yeah.
And you guys co-parent together.
Yeah.
So talk to us about your situation.
I'm fortunate because my wife advocates for me being his father, and she always wants my opinion. And when I call there, if he's having issues or he got in a little bit of trouble or something, she like brings it up and lets me address it and give him feedback or encouragement, or if it's a bad behavior, I do, I explain to him, what the consequences of that behavior could be, and I use myself as an example a lot. And our relationship, it's a good co-parenting relationship. And, I think we have good communication between me and my wife, and I'm fortunate to have that type of relationship with her that she wants to include me in with my son, and whether his achievements or whatever it may be, she wants to include me into that. And so that's kind of, I'm real fortunate for that.
You sure are.
Did you have anything to add, Brian?
I think parenting, I think that it could slightly be different if both parents, if we're given the resources. I could place blame, or I could shift the blame, but I mean, realistically, it's both of us, because we both laid down and worked for that child. So I just think that if we're given the proper tools then I think that communicating and parenting would be a whole lot different. But I say that because like there's a lot of things that I didn't know. I didn't know a lot of things until I got into this class. And so we all like to think that we have it under control or we're doing a good job until you look and you find something new that's more effective. And so I think that if there's parenting classes on the streets, if they're given those opportunities from whatever communities we're in, whatever background we come from, if those are available, I feel like in the midst of a divorce, a midst of a separation, I feel like the parents we wouldn't have a lot of these issues because we'll be able to already understand and say sometimes people are just in our life for us to learn things and sometimes we grow apart. There's nothing wrong with that, but the most important part is the child. And I don't think a lot of us sometimes there's one parent that understands that, to understand the importance. It's like it's about the child. And so no matter what, together, both parents have to work together in order for that child to grow up with a healthy life, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. So I think that's the biggest thing is being provided with all the tools that we need to communicate and then to bring forth more healthy, productive individuals in the community. So just the opportunity to understand love languages, to understand people, and then what co-parent looks like separate, not only just people being incarcerated, but even on the street. So that's the thing, provide more parenting for those so we know ahead of time how to tackle these situations and put our children first.
Yeah. It's the North Star, isn't it? You had another thought?
Okay, yeah.
Yes, if I may, Mr. Bryant said parenting classes available on the streets, which reminded me that counseling, family counseling. I know that my co-parent is also dealing with a lot, having two children dropped on her unexpectedly. And although this is something she had advocated before, when it actually happened, she was totally unprepared. It's a lot more than she anticipated. And she's expressed to me that she feels like a failure because, she compares herself to me based on the life that our children had prior to me coming here. And I tried to help her understand that you're not me, but you're doing good for the situation that you're in. I applaud her for that because my children aren't in foster care. And so I try to help her to understand you're doing good for what you are doing. I feel that it would be helpful if we had family counseling, if we could do Zoom meetings once a week or even once a month, so that she can feel validated and understand that she's not a bad person or a bad mom. And also for my children, like I said, they're traumatized, their whole life was turned upside down and they don't have any more comforts. They don't have any more safe space. They lost the familiarity of, having their own room and being stationary, stable, they no longer are able to participate in their sports activities, their crafts, karate, basketball, things like that. But I think that family counseling would be a great thing if that was to become available.
I hate to interrupt, but we are going to have to change rooms really quick. So we're
Oh,
gonna have to,
shoot.
yeah, because they've got a big, so if you give us just a minute, we're gonna pop up down the hall.
Okay, so Marco, you're going to be on for this next
Yep.
question then.
That's all right.
We'll
Go,
see you
Marco,
guys in a
got it.
minute. We'll see you guys in a
Yeah.
minute. So he actually led us right into the question, Marco. So one of the questions in the chat is about what other services would you like? What other complementary things would have been helpful or are still could be helpful when you're parenting inside? So SIF, has the parenting curriculum and the case management work, and they're amazing. And we're going to talk more about that because there's other questions in here about SIF. But are there other things that you think would really help you be successful help your family be successful? What other types of services can you think of?
Well, I mean, family counseling is one of the things. I mean, I wish that the courts, instead of sending me to prison for violating the restraining order, I wish they would have looked into more of the situation that was going on with our family. You know, what I mean, look into it more. I mean, I would have never thought that I would have come to prison for violating a restraining order, and it wasn't a domestic violence restrainer. It was just a restraining order. 60 months for violating a restrainer. That's to me it was drastic. It put my family in a hardship, especially when we got kids. You know, I understand that some women need to be protected. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are abusive. You know what I mean? But that wasn't in my case. Um, Now I believe that. I mean, there's a lot of fathers that are incarcerated that want to be fathers. You know what I mean? That would like the opportunity to be able to get enrolled in classes like this and be a part of their kids' life from behind bars. You know what I mean? I wish I could be there for my kids. I think my kids are going to need counseling whenever some kind of family counseling. You know, I mean, like I said, I don't know what's going on with mom right now. I hope that she realizes what's going on, and I hope that the county or wherever that are supposed to be helping her get her some kind of help. That way she can be part of our kids. Because my kids love her. You know what I mean? And they ask about her every time I talk to them. You know what I mean? And I tell them that she's working or she's off somewhere or you know, that way. I mean, I don't know what grandma's telling them, but it sounds like grandma's not being the very best role model to the kids right now. But
Yeah, so people are asking great questions about how can they be allies and what can they do from the perspective of a group of people who work with families. If you had advice to this room of very diverse people, what are the ways they can best help fathers, parents that are incarcerated? What would you tell them?
give us rights. You know what I mean? I know what they say. Washington's a woman's state. You know what I mean? We got rights too. I mean, we want to be in our kids' lives. I mean, I want to be in the kids' lives. I want to be in the same picture as a mom. You know what I mean? Yeah, we can't breastfeed. We don't give birth or nothing like that. But I don't mean I don't love my kids more than my wife loves my kids. I mean, I die for my kids. I mean, those are my babies. I mean, I love them each. I mean, I just want to be in the same light as
Yeah.
my wife or anything else. You know, give us
See,
give us give us some kind of opportunity to be a dad. You know,
yeah, be seen, be heard, and be valued. Yeah. It's so powerful, Marco. The other thing that you mentioned a minute ago while these guys get settled, was the way the court system dealt with the protection order being violated. And you had mentioned to me when we talked last time, that the reason you went down there was because you feared for the kids because mom was using, and you thought you were protecting them, and instead you ended up incarcerated, which was incredibly disruptive and hurtful for them. And so I imagine you've got really strong feelings about that too, because, here you are and here they are, but you thought you were doing the right thing. What would you want court adjudicators in court, judges, commissioners, what would you want them to know, or what would you want them to do differently when they're working with fathers? Because I think we're just barely beginning this conversation in this state, and I think your voice is very powerful.
well, I don't believe that they screen me. You know what I mean? I think each individual case should be screened properly before they give judgment on anything. You know, I think if they would have screened and seen the situation that was going on, they would have got the big light of everything. The thing is we went from three different counties. You know what I mean? I went from Cowlitz to Lewis County to from the county that we live in, and it's all three counties didn't know what was going on. You know what I mean? The original, I mean, I live in one county. The incident that happened was in another county. She went to a whole other county and got the restraining order. So they didn't know the backtrack of everything that went down. Then once she missed court in one county, she fled to California, and that's when I took it upon myself to go. But I went to Lewis County and I told them the situation that was going on. They didn't believe me. They refused to give me an emergency custody to go get my kids. So what was I gonna do? Let my kids be there in a drug house, or go get my kids and make sure that they were safe? That's what I did. I got in a plane. I flew out to California, and I made sure my kids were safe, and I bring them back. You know what I mean? And I convinced her to come back also. It's just I got pulled over on the way back, and she was in the vehicle, and they arrested me for the violation of the restraining order.
Yeah, multiple counties, multiple interstate compacts too that
Yeah.
were involved. So Tara, while you were moving, we began the conversation about what is their advice to this room full of professionals? That's part one. And then what is your advice to dads that are incarcerated? What would you say to them about how to lean in like you have, or how to be the most successful parent you can behind bars? So two-part question. Tara, you may have to kind of tease that out a little bit. I'm sorry, I don't mean to overwhelm people, but I want to make sure we get both of them in.
Okay.
Did I say that right, Ann?
Yeah, we didn't hear you, but it's the key. First one is, what do you want this room of professionals to know about how to best support dads that are incarcerated? What do you want them to know and to do in their role of working with families?
Well, one, I think that at least in this state, that we're kind of moving away from incarceration, total confinement, and more into partial confinement, like FOSA, Family Offender Sentence Alternative, GRE, and CPA. I think that more consideration should be given for parents when they're dealing with the courts, to consider what is best for the child, the children. If we are to, if not put an end to this cycle, to at least curb it. You know, speaking from personal experience, I was last released in 2006, and I remained a free man until 2022. And now I've been here 3 years as of July 1st. But look at the condition of my children now. I could still be paying for my mistake. I could still take accountability for what I've done, being incarcerated in my home with my children. And we would have 2 less little girls out there committing crimes and getting in trouble. My request would be further consideration into those types of forms of incarceration. And secondly, when I'm released, I was fortunate enough to have Section 8 before I came to prison. And one of the requirements for Section 8 is that you don't get in trouble. So now that I'm here, I lost my Section 8. Section 8 was very helpful into keeping us housed and under one roof. I'm going to live with my in-laws, but what does that do for bringing my kids and I back under one roof? The transitional houses, they're not set up or designed for parents who want their kids to come live with them. I have asked questions about such places, and I haven't heard anything back regarding the availability of housing that allows children to come and live with the parent, and not just like temporarily while I transition back through reentry, which is also a great thing to have. I appreciate the reentry programs, but my biggest concern would be that of, what am I going to do with my kids when I get out? I can't afford to live in Washington. It's so expensive here. but I would love to have my kids back. And I think that my kids would love to be back under the same roof with dad, and hopefully in the future with mom as well. Um, but that is a great concern of mine, is the housing situation.
Yeah, huge barrier for dads at so many levels. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Okay, the last two of you, the last question about what you want this group of people to know about how best to support dads that are incarcerated. And we will get to reentry dads when we do the next session. So hold that thought, but think about parenting inside. What do you want this group of people to know?
Uh, I, I, I'd like to, for parenting inside, I think it'd be a good thing. I mean, exploring more into like getting the parenting classes to all the other institutions, you know, and offering the support like that we get here from the strength and families class and stuff like that, and with Miss McElravy and Miss Thrush, the help that they actually offer us, and and advocate for us in like at our reviews and stuff like that, because that helps us be a parent from inside, but also it does help us for with our transition through the community. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of the incarcerated fathers, that because they help prepare us for our transition, and overcoming them hurdles. And I like to reiterate and go back on to what Dion had said, that about the reentry programs and the GRE, and focus on what the kids' needs are too, with those reentry programs,
Yeah,
like the GRE and stuff.
yeah.
Um, it definitely, this program is helpful. I want us all to be mindful that the more that we know as fathers, the more that we can teach our kids, the better civilians and citizens they can be out there in the world.
Mm.
So we need everything. We need all the tools. Everything that you guys have been offering is very much appreciative, but we need to continue that. We need to further that, and we need to know that the difference is going to be, it's going to have to start with us. It's going to have to
Yeah.
start with us and then trickle down to our kids, to us being able to implement the skills that you guys are giving us, because a lot of this stuff we didn't know. Um, and I like to think of myself as a fairly good father, but now I like to think of myself as an excellent father with the skills that I've required since I've been in this class. But let's be mindful that if we want to see a great world or a great society, we're going to have to educate. We're going to have to educate the men and the women that we're in close contact with and that we work with. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. I appreciate you guys listening and trying to further help those that are incarcerated be better, because I'm not a bad person. I've made a bad choice. I've made a mistake, but I'm not a bad person. Overall, I'm a great human being. I have a heart, and I want for my kids the best life possible. So I think that's the thing. Just keep giving us this and very much more.
Wow. What a lovely um, way to wrap this in a big bow and hand it to you all, to say you are all now um, knighted. That's probably not the right metaphor because it's a little violent, but you all now are allies for these men and these families and these programs. And somebody said earlier, what can I do? Speak up, speak up, speak up. Because people need parenting in every institution. And we have, as you heard from Tara, a very small percentage are getting the support and the knowledge that these amazing men have gotten. And you're breaking cycles, right? That's what you just said. All four of you have said it over and over again. And that's the goal. That's the whole reason why we're here serving families as a group of people who walk with families. Um, how do we lean into that and do that with gusto? And these are difficult times, y'all. I'm not in any way gonna marginalize or minimize the fact that this is going to be a hard few years in this state for resources. But if we're not talking about prevention and breaking cycles and making sure that we're supporting the next generation and the current generation at the same time, it's only going to get harder, and that's not what we want for families. So, bravo to all of you. There, that was a perfect timing. Thank you for who just put that in the chat. So much love coming through the chat to you, and we'll make sure that this chat gets saved and gets out to the staff so that you get to see it. And you all are allies to the Strengthen Families program. You're all are allies to this work when it comes time for us to make decisions again as a state to say what is important to us. And what is important to us is supporting these programs that are working with these families. We just lost the Parent Navigator program um, in Airway Heights and Purdy, which is tragic because it was working with families that were involved in the child welfare system while incarcerated. And now those families are going to go back to the struggles that they've had. And I know DCYF learned a lot from it, but part of it is having this intentionality of a person that's helping to make sure that parents get access to those legal processes while their kids are involved in child welfare. So much love coming to you in the chat, so much admiration. We wish you well, and we believe in you, and we know that you are all leaders. And oh my gosh, you guys are so good with this chat. You're just hitting it right when I'm thinking about it, Nick. We look forward to seeing you as a voice when you're out in the community too. And we will continue to bring your voice forward to people. Because the staffing is changing doesn't mean the work is going away. The work isn't going away. We'll just have to figure out more creative ways to do it because of our budget cuts around the staff. But we so appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing your stories with people because that is power. It is incredibly powerful. Um, Dieter has put a survey in the chat that we use your feedback to collect information to send to our funder. And so if you could please take a moment to fill that out, that would be great. But your stories change systems. We've learned that over 10 years with this council. We have so much more awareness of the needs of fathers in the state than we did 10 years ago. And because money changed, I think people should not take away a message that the message hasn't worked. It has, and it is. And so, don't think that this was in any way an indictment of the work because look at this amazing stuff that's happening here today. So, Dieter, help us out with when the next one is. I'll get off my soapbox now. I feel very preachy. I'm sorry, but it's just been incredible to be part of this.
And if you'll allow me, I just really want to take a minute just to really honor you and Dieter for the work that you've done. And I know that Department of Corrections and Strength and Family has been our partnership and our friendship has just been tremendously valuable to us. You have been our biggest supporters, helped open doors for us and get our dad's voices heard all over the state. And so the work that you have done, and I'm sure most of you will echo my sentiments, has just been critical for Washington State. And it is really tragic and very, very sad to see you guys step down because the work you've done is tremendous. And we really, really appreciate you.
It's an incredible partnership. Absolutely. Dieter, we have another session Sorry. We have another session coming up in July with our reentry conversation. Could you remind people, right now dates aren't sticking in my head.
Yeah, no
Third
worries.
Thursday?
It should be the third Thursday, so the 17th of July at our normal time, 11:30 to
Awesome.
1. Watch your emails. I'll be adding all your emails and making sure you're already in our Gov delivery, which most of you already are, but we always have a few new people, so I will make sure you're in there and you will get a copy of that. And this was a wonderful presentation today. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. It was an honor to hear from you, and it's been an honor to be part of this, and I will continue to do my best to be part of this world and promote fathers and fatherhood as I can from wherever I land. So thank you all very, very much.
So one last thought. We will be doing a summit this year. It will be a smaller capacity than we've had in the past. So also look for your email when the save the date registration comes out in the next few days. Please consider joining us because this is a year of transition and we need all of these strong allies in the room to keep this up. So September 19th, you'll see a registration coming out through the Gov delivery. They look a little spammy. They look a little corporate. So that is us. Don't just toss them. If you get this communication from DSHS Gov delivery, it's us. And register. And we had 200 to 300 folks come each year for the last few years. We have 100 spots. So please, please, please register early if you want to join us. And then lastly, nominate dads for our Dad Ally Award. So that will come out through the Gov delivery as well. And last year we had a dad from Stafford Creek that won, which was really, really cool. But we'll be doing the Dad Ally Awards at the summit on June, Lord help me, September 19th. And we need your nominations. So think about the dads and the dad allies that you know, that you work with, that you can nominate for these wonderful awards and honor their leadership. Yeah, here. We got some advocating going on there in the room already. You guys are amazing. I hope you know how much you've got our support coming to you from afar. Um, and then you've got these amazing people that are going to be walking with you when you're back in the community. So thanks all. We'll see you in July. And then we hope we will continue to see you. We'll have provider learning series sessions throughout the summer. And then we'll have the summit in September. So do see this as a continuing effort. Just because the staffing is changing, the effort is not going away. We'll just have to be more creative about how we do it. Thanks everybody for joining us. And Dieter, I do need to
Thank
jump.
you.
You want to stick on and give them the feedback? I have to jump to another meeting this time. So thanks, DOC. You guys are awesome.
Thank you, Ann.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
So Dieter, I'm gonna leave, but it says end, so you better take host because I'm gonna cut you
I
off if I
thought I
go.
was. Let me give me
If
host if
mine
you
says
can.
end, not leave.
Can you give me host then?
Yes. Let me just check. Enable.
Reclaim host. There we are. I just reclaimed, so I think you're
You
good.
reclaimed it. Okay, now I can leave. Bye, everybody.
Take care, Em. Let's talk to you soon.